160 years ago today, history was made as two ironclad ships dueled for the first time. We're on location in Virginia to refight one of the most iconic clashes in naval history, the Battle of Hampton Roads.
And I'm really excited for this epic rematch. And what better place to do it than on actual location? The Mariners Museum in Hampton Roads, Virginia.
Talk about an exciting backdrop. Okay, this ship is a full-scale replica of the Monitor, but the actual turret and other artifacts from both the Monitor and the Virginia are on display here at the museum.
And rest assured, we will show you around the inside of this outstanding museum, but in this video we'll also set up a fantastic tabletop war game to refight both days of this battle, March 8th and 9th, with 1/600 scale model ships. Will the USS Monitor save the Union fleet as she did historically, or can our players rewrite history? Miles, in yesterday's On to Richmond campaign, Tom and Greg described the first day of this two-day affair. That was yesterday, March 8th. The Monitor had not yet arrived on the scene of the action.
No, she missed the battle by just a few hours.
Before we get to the action, let's pop inside the museum for a bit more context on this famous matchup. And a huge thank you to the museum staff for hosting us here today. The Mariners Museum is a wonderful stop on any road trip, and we highly recommend that anyone interested in naval history pay a visit. You will not be disappointed.
Well, welcome inside the Mariner Museum. I'm thrilled to be joined by Harriet Smith, the Director of Education for the museum. And Harriet, I think a great place for us to get started with viewers is just a little bit of background about where this incredible museum came from.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a privately owned nonprofit. We were founded in 1930, and we've just been, a pillar of the community ever since then.
So the room we're in right now, I think I called this the Artifact Room, has these two amazing exhibits that will show people of a reproduction of what the turret of the Monitor looked like when it was found on the ocean floor and what it might have looked like before the battle. Could you tell us a little bit about the preservation efforts of the turret, which viewers can see here from the glass? And the other question I have for you is, what happened to the rest of the ship, and why is it that we only have the turret?
So that's a really good question. So let me start with the conservation of the turret. This is a very long process. So right now it's housed in our wet lab in our conservation area, and our conservators are working really hard to study and stabilize. So that's what they're working on right now. And quite a bit was brought up from the wreck. And so the rest of the Monitor is still at the bottom of the ocean floor. But they brought up the Dahlgren guns, they brought up the engine, they brought up the turret, which was most important. And so they kind of picked these iconic parts of the ship that really influenced naval design for the rest of history and up till today.
Is there any hope of going back at some point and bringing up additional pieces, or are those going to remain underwater?
So right now there aren't any plans to bring up additional pieces, but the shipwreck itself is protected by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The Monitor National Marine Sanctuary, which was founded solely to protect this shipwreck, is in charge of its stewardship and protection. So everything down there is still being studied and documented and protected by the government, but right now there isn't plans to bring anything else up to the surface.
Next question would be about, of course, the ship that opposed the Monitor here at Hampton Roads. What kind of artifacts do we have from the CSS Virginia or Merrimack? Because I know obviously it was exploded in a great great fireball after the battle, but have we been able to salvage anything, and do you have any of those pieces on display here?
We do. We have a couple pieces from the Virginia, but like you said, the majority of it was just destroyed when it was scuttled. So I believe we have the ship's wheel and a couple other smaller objects off the Virginia, but unfortunately the majority of it was lost because the South was determined to destroy it before the Union could get its hands on it.
So if people want to get engaged with the museum, either to come and visit or to support your mission, what's the best way for them to do that?
So there's a number of ways that you can support the museum. First and foremost is just to come visit us and check out our galleries.
Highly recommended, folks. Yeah, we had a great time.
And so our goal is to really be a resource for the community, so we want to welcome folks into our galleries. Another way you can support is by volunteering. We have a wonderful, dedicated team of volunteers that help us with everything we do in the museum. You can become a member, so you can support us that way, or you can donate. So any of those ways you can support the museum.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time and for hosting our group here at the museum. We had an absolutely wonderful time. And this is a special place, and I hope that if you're watching and you're in the Virginia area doing a little bit of tourism, that you come and make the stop at the Mariner Museum.
On March 8, 1862, the CSS Virginia, more commonly called the Merrimac, attacked the Union fleet and ran roughshod over it, heralding the end of the age of wooden ships. The following day, March 9th, she sailed out to finish the job, only to be confronted by the Union's own ironclad, the USS Monitor.
For today's game, we are using 1/600 scale models of all the major ships present historically. The ship models we are using have been provided by one of our patron supporters, Patrick Woodard, who runs a 3D model shop called East Coast Ironclads. I wonder what kind of STL files one can find there.
We have more than Patrick's models here today. We have Patrick himself, and he'll be commanding the CSS Virginia.
Excellent.
We're using a new set of rules from Scary Biscuit Studios. These rules, which we'll have in review on the follow-on video, are a nice level of mid-range complexity and frankly perfect for a quick road trip like this. The rules are available from the Wargame Vault and Drive-Thru RPG.
As we stated earlier, we're going to be refighting both days of the engagement. On the first day, the Confederates will attack the wooden Union fleet and attempt to sink as many ships as possible. The one caveat is that the Confederate Navy will have a very limited capacity to make repairs.
So on day one, the Confederate decision is really just how much to risk the Virginia while doing as much damage as possible. And the Union, it's much more simple. Can they damage the Virginia whilst trying to stay afloat?
Yeah. And it's a difficult choice because the outcome of day one will impact the start of day two when the Union have their own ironclad. One of the things that makes naval games really a good choice for road trips is terrain. It's pretty simple, but still an accurate representation of Hampton Roads. One thing our map doesn't reflect is the water depth.
So a factor in this battle is that some of the Union captains were unfamiliar with the navigation of this channel. And so the risk of running aground was a constant threat. Though that did happen, some running aground to avoid sinking or unintentionally. So we got some surprises in store for the players with rules for this scenario for shallow waters.
I'm not sure the helmsman of either Navy is going to find those rules a very good surprise, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun inflicting on them. It's kind of the chaotic fun we like to have. And with that, it's finally time for our ships to steam out into the fateful waters of Hampton Roads. We have 5 players for today's 160th anniversary war game, 3 on the Union side and 2 on the Rebels. Our Federal captains are Tom, Josh, and Dave. As I explained the opening setup for the encounter on day 1, they're not optimistic about their prospects. Their ships must begin the battle at anchor, without the fleet fully concentrated for battle. Worse yet, the only ironclad on the table for the first day is the Rebel monster, the CSS Virginia. The question is, how do our Rebel captains plan to put their new ironclad to good use before the Monitor arrives to even the scales?
My name is Patrick. I live here in Newport News, well, Yorktown, close enough. I designed all of the ships that are going to be used in this scenario, and I will be commanding the CSS Virginia.
I'm Zach. I'm going to be running in support of the CSS Virginia. I hope to do great things today.
We will do great things. The Congress will be at the bottom of Hampton Roads.
Yeah, so we're just going to steam straight at them?
I think so. Because Hampton Roads is fairly shallow. It's not super deep, so we might have to be a little bit careful.
All right.
But I think for the most part, we just sail straight towards Newport News Point. And
I'll probably peel off and try to just do some long range plunking at them and let you go do your work.
Mm-hmm.
The Confederate work begins on turn 1 with the James River Squadron entering the table in column, led by the Virginia. Union, you have initiative. Union, you see smoke on the water.
Raise anchors!
Well, you both raised anchors.
Too fast.
But no,
Not
one
too
ship.
fast. Wait a second, I have to finish breakfast first.
Both sides open the battle with long-range cannon fire. Most of the shells splash harmlessly into the river, but a few minor hits are scored. With these long-range shots, the Federals focus their early fire on the wooden rebel ships.
Yep.
So 4 plus to save.
6.
Oh, darn good. Confederates, move a ship.
Yeah, spanked right off that cotton. Okay, here we go. Opening up with the Jamestown.
Yep.
That's going to be 32-pound smooth bores. From the sides, it's probably going to be long range. That looks well over 24.
Yeah,
It's but it's two dice now.
Yep.
Ho ho.
Hitting on 5s.
Miss.
Damage in this game is handled with custom cards that you can print out at home. Minor hits give you a yellow damage card, while the red hits are critical damage. And if you happen to take damage in the darkest red category on the chart, Your ship is sunk in a catastrophic explosion. But our players will need to close into point-blank range to start dealing those kind of punishing blows. And on turn 4, that's exactly what Patrick has in mind. With Zach's wooden gunboats hanging back, Patrick steers the Virginia directly towards the USS Congress. Instead of attempting to ram as the Virginia did 106 years ago, Patrick instead pulls alongside the Federal ships to engage in 2 rounds of point-blank fire.
Three hits.
Oh!
Maybe.
Josh, you really want to save these? And you need to save on 5 pluses, because he moves up a column.
I only saved 1. So I take 2 crits. I regret to inform you, President Lincoln, that the USS Congress, she's a wreck.
Patrick and Zach are thrilled with their early success, but almost immediately find themselves confronted with a new threat. More Federal ships are arriving on the scene from the direction of Fort Monroe, including the large, heavily armed frigate USS Minnesota. Will the Confederates opt to continue the engagement or take this premature opportunity to turn south and return to the port of Norfolk?
I think we want to run south a little bit longer before we turn back out.
All right.
What could possibly go wrong?
The rebels choose to carry on the fight just a bit longer. It's a decision they will come to regret in short order.
So I got my dog rins off. Ooh, I got all. Ooh.
That is not some good moves.
Hitting on 5s.
Ooh.
See one?
Me.
It's like live free or die.
Roll those dice for saves, and you're going to save on 3s.
1, 2, 3.
Took 3 of them.
Oh, 3 cumulative yellow damage.
Laying down the hammer.
After taking 2 punishing broadsides from the Minnesota, the rebels finally disengage before their slow, ponderous ironclad can be encircled and outmaneuvered into a vulnerable position. But Dave doesn't want to let the Virginia escape so easily. He orders the Minnesota to increase her speed, pushing hard to catch the rebel monster. But he pushes a little too hard and a little too close to shore, managing to run himself aground in the late afternoon. This effectively ends the Federal pursuit, bringing our first day of action to a close. It's a clear Confederate victory so far, with 1 Federal ship sunk, but during the night, the USS Monitor arrives on the scene, and her captain, Josh, is eager to announce his arrival.
Where you been? What's going on? What did I miss?
It wasn't as big a disaster as it was historically, so well played. You have a decision to make. You have received reinforcements. The Monitor, this funny-looking boat, it's like cheese box, has shown up.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a choice. You can either deploy it hidden behind the Minnesota, where the Confederates can't see it, or on the other side of the fort.
No, we're hiding it.
It's going to start speed 0, like everything else. Where would you like to place it?
So with the Monitor, what do you guys think the strategy should be for this? I mean, we're going to hide it behind.
I'd try to come out of point blank range and get the first shot
Should
against
we
the
just
Virginia.
like sit at 0 speed and wait until they come in close and then charge out?
Yeah. I mean, and if a target presents itself, come out and destroy it.
All right.
But get the Virginia. I mean,
Yeah, you're the
all
only
else.
one that can really go toe to toe with the.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the Virginia comes in close so I can give her hell.
They'll come out, but I think you'll have a chance. They won't know where you are exactly. There's some uncertainty, and then you pop out the best option and just blaze away.
Sounds like a plan.
The beauty is with the Monitor is your turret shoots 360, so you've got, meaning you don't have to worry about getting broadsides.
Yeah, right. Excellent.
So we know that the Monitor is coming into the action, and in a historic refight, those two would just kind of slap at each other, and that won't be so fun. So we're thinking, I'm going to mask the Monitor with my unarmored tugs. And Patrick is going to try and finish off as many Yankee wooden ships as possible. I might even try to board someone. Miles says it's really unfeasible, but I'm going to try anyway.
March 9th dawns bright and clear with the stage set for the world's first ironclad battle. The Confederate James River Squadron steams out from Norfolk once more. Zach's plan to screen the rebel ironclad with his light wooden ships is a bold one, but is it a wise one? As we played the game on the deck of the Monitor, members of the museum staff came out to observe and make sure we weren't getting into trouble. I noticed one staffer, Stephanie, lingering around our game several times, watching with interest. So we invited her to join the Union fleet and in fact take command of the powerful frigate, the USS St. Lawrence.
Here you go.
Dice.
This is where you wanna
Roll
high.
Okay. Okay.
Fives?
You need 5s to hit?
It's 5, so it's
Yeah.
small. Yes, 2 hits.
2 hits.
Yeah, two
All right,
hits.
that's great.
All
Okay.
Beaufort.
Oh boy.
Those are mediums?
I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
It's okay.
Those
Go
ships
for it.
can't take much damage.
Unarmored.
On armor? Okay, you got to roll a 6 or
Don't
you sink.
apologize. These are scallywags.
You got to roll 2 6s or she's gone.
I have 2 hull.
2 criticals.
Cards. And the card.
That'll sink her. 2
You
hull.
sunk a ship!
So it's just adrift.
Oh, I sunk them.
Yeah. So this just starts turning in place. There's nobody moving on the deck. They just got 1.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay,
Well,
so on
put the little box
6s.
bed up.
On 6.
All right, 6s. Come on,
Too
6.
Oh, look at that! 3 sixes!
Teaser.
Wow, what a great roll.
Okay.
Give her the monitor.
What?
Maybe I lost
sir.
command. I lost my command.
You've been relieved.
Size?
The mediums.
Medium.
Medium? Okay,
You
so
got- you got
it's
lights?
unarmored. So you got lights, so it's 4 saves.
4 up saves. You got 3 of them.
Rowboat goes out.
If I make all 3 of these, the teaser rides on. Come on.
He's got to make all 3 of these.
No! I failed already!
Failed all 3.
He failed all
The
3.
teaser's blown
She sinks
away.
a second ship.
Let's find out what happens to the teaser.
Wow, that is so great.
Oh!
I haven't sunk a ship all day, and you
Ice
sink it
cold.
too right away.
You have
Okay,
ice water in those veins.
the rudder's shot away, the gun deck is wrecked,
Oh my god.
and then it starts flooding immediately.
Oh, so it's underwater.
So,
Bye, teaser.
Stephanie, enjoying either some beginner's luck with the dice or strategic expertise from being on the museum's staff, promptly proceeds to tear into Zach's smaller, unarmored wooden ships, sinking the teaser and the Beaufort. But while Zach is taking this punishment, his strategy of sacrificing himself to draw attention away from Virginia is paying dividends. Patrick pulls up alongside the grounded Minnesota and blasts her at point-blank range. It's at just this moment when Joss springs the Federal trap, revealing the USS Monitor hiding in the shadow of the Minnesota. It's now a 3-way duel between the Minnesota, Monitor, and the Virginia. Although outnumbered and now being attacked from the rear by the heavy guns of the Monitor, Patrick does not attempt to withdraw or reposition himself. He's made up his mind to go toe-to-toe with the Federal warships, putting his trust in the thick plate armor of the Virginia.
So at first the pivot gun was hit and destroyed. Then the pivot gun got worse if it could. Internal explosion, gun deck, internal explosion, gun deck.
Wow.
3 internal explosions. The Minnesota only has 6 hull points, and she is now where the fishes swim.
Yeah!
Wow.
Whoa.
Poor Minnesota.
Yes.
You sank a ship of the line.
That's my friend.
The Minnesota is now a flaming wreck, but the Virginia has not emerged from this clash entirely unscathed. Her armor deflected most of the hits, but she sustained rudder damage, leaving the Virginia unable to make a full turn until it can be repaired. The rudder issue makes Patrick's next decision quite simple. With the Minnesota on fire and the Monitor attacking him from behind, he has no choice but to press forward and seek another target of opportunity. And much to Patrick's delight, the USS Cumberland is his ideal prize. Zach's surviving squadron of wooden ships is also angling towards the Cumberland, but still taking long-range fire from Stephanie's deadly aim.
It's a
Of
spike
course she
shot.
gets a hit on it.
Spike
Of
shot.
course she gets another hit.
As it goes under.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, she sunk 3 ships.
This is just.
There's your ship back.
That's
Oh, okay.
Are you having fun yet?
I am. I am. Like, I'm slowly understanding what I'm doing, but for the most part,
doing great.
I'm just rolling dice.
the Confederate Navy? Because they ain't got nothing. With his squadron almost put out of action, Zach presses forward with his lead ship, the side-wheel steamer CSS Patrick Henry, angling for a ram attack against Tom's ship, the Cumberland. The 50-gun Cumberland is a much larger, heavier vessel than the lightly armed Rebel steamer, but Zach is hoping that his suicidal charge will entangle or disable the Federal warship long enough for the Virginia to come alongside and finish the job. With a loud crash, the two ships collide.
All right, yeah.
Patrick Henry has been taken.
All right.
Yeah, another one down.
All right, but you are still at speed 0 and entangled.
Got it.
All right.
We're just a floating.
Yeah. Boarding actions in this game are brutally simple to resolve, and with one quick roll of the dice, Tom's larger warship subdues the Patrick Henry, taking her as a prize. But Zach's sacrifice has achieved at least one critical goal. The Cumberland is now entangled at speed 0. The CSS Virginia, still unable to repair her rudder, continues straight ahead and rakes the rear of the Cumberland with a devastating crossfire. USS Monitor and Stephanie St. Lawrence remain behind, able to do little to provide slow chase. The Cumberland begins to catch fire, and Patrick now makes the prudent decision to leave the scene before the rest of the Union fleet can concentrate to trap it. The Battle of March 9th ends with 6 ships destroyed and both the Cumberland and Jamestown on fire. With almost the entire James River Squadron lost, this feels like a Pyrrhic tactical Confederate victory. Of course, the two most important warships, the ironclads, both emerge from the action with only light damage that can repair and port.
I don't know that we achieved a lot of what we wanted to, little damage, but we had luckily a hero show up on the scene, right? Someone
USS
who,
Lawrence.
a sharpshooter.
Yes.
The USS Lawrence.
Yes.
With some great gunnery.
We took out Harmony, the Buford, and also the Teaser.
All right.
So we're very proud for that.
And
She was rolling really hot.
Yeah, actually, the Minnesota was run aground, and I was taking damage, and I was able to finish off the Jamestown, and then the poor Minnesota blew up. 3 internal explosions, and from my perspective on my ship, which is on fire, I was a little bit worried.
Yeah, not good.
And then Stephanie showed up.
Yes. Rest in peace, Minnesota. When Jenna was telling me about it, I was like, okay, what? I wasn't sure.
Yep.
But coming and playing, I was really, really excited. And I learned a little more history about Hampton Roads in the battle.
That's
Yes.
great. Yeah.
Thanks for
Good.
playing.
Thanks for
It was
playing
really
with us.
cool for inviting me, guys. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, anytime.
Oh man. All right. The Minnesota's dead.
Yeah, that was the plan. You rammed the Cumberland.
Yeah, whoops. But you know what? I think all in all, we did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to not waste time hammering on the Monitor.
Yeah,
Just go for the wooden ships, and that actually worked out pretty well.
yeah. I think it frustrated Josh a little bit because we just completely ignored him.
But a fun game.
Yes,
and,
definitely.
And excellent miniatures, man.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thanks. Yeah.
What scale are they at?
1/600.
Okay, it was a
But-
nice scale.
Yeah. Once they're all modeled at 1/600 scale, approximately. You know.
I'm gonna have to pick some of those up, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just let me know.
Thanks for bringing your boats out.
Yeah. No problem. Thanks for having me down here.
Historically, the Monitor and Virginia would never again meet in battle. Both ships sallied forth several more times at a show of posturing and chest thumping, but neither side would risk a full engagement with the other. 2 months later, the captain of the Virginia ordered her scuttled, where her home port of Norfolk fell to the Union. The USS Monitor was destined to meet a similarly unhappy fate when she capsized in a storm off the coast of North Carolina in December of 1862. You can come here to the USS Monitor Center at the Mariners Museum in Hampton Roads to see the salvaged pieces of both warships.
Did you enjoy our Battle of Hampton Roads Wargame rematch? It's just one small part of an epic video series that we're making to follow McClellan's march up the peninsula to Richmond. Hit the subscribe button and join us for multiple videos every week this spring and follow in McClellan's footsteps. Or missteps.